Did you know the best technique for managing your mind to reduce anxiety and worry is actually the best technique to manifest as well? You may have heard of it, and it's called the what if method. And this is something that Neville Goddard has talked about, and you've probably heard other people talk about this potentially. And you may have also noticed your brain coming up with its own what ifs throughout the day. What if this happens? What if I fail this test? What if this person never talks to me again? What if I sabotage this relationship? And so on and so forth. We run into this all the time, and that is because our mind is constantly giving us feedback based off what it thinks could happen next. So those thoughts that create fear and anxiety and worry, a lot of the time they actually don't have any basis in reality at all. You can think of them kind of like conspiracy theories. Your brain is just giving you lots of conspiracies of things that could happen. Well, guess what? There's no way to anticipate or predict what can happen next. So to ease this anxiety and this fear and this worry from these what if thoughts that your brain is giving you, you can actually just flip the script on those what ifs and think about all of the incredible things that actually could happen next, because those are just as likely as the other things, and possibly more likely. You know, I can't remember what study this was from, but it showed that 80% of the things that we actually fear, worry happening never actually happen. That a lot of our fears and worries don't even have any basis in reality. And I think it was like 22% or something of the time, the situation actually turns out better than we anticipated. And how often have you looked back on all of that time sitting in fear and worry and just like trying to anticipate what's going to happen next, that actually ends up kind of working out or really working out, and you're like, oh, I actually didn't need to worry as much as I was. I wasted so much time in that fear and anxiety and worry. So this is kind of a way to not only learn to manage your mind and to rewire your brain, but to also help you actually create and manifest the life of your dreams. And you'll notice as soon as you think of a thought, as soon as your brain comes up with a thought that feels not good in the body, that feeling grows, right? That feeling amplifies, and every thought actually has a feeling attached to it. We just don't necessarily know that because we don't attach to every single one of the thoughts that we're having. But just like that anxious thought can create a visceral response in the body, we can actually create peace and excitement and relief in the body just as quickly by choosing a new thought. Now, this is actually how I got to Washington, was through this method. I asked myself all the time, like, what if everything works out beyond what I could have ever imagined? I would ask myself all of these questions throughout the day, and at night is really when it got interesting and fun, because every single night I would fall asleep in the energy of my desire, already having accomplished it. I would imagine myself in Washington, in my bed, laying down and just thinking about how incredible it is that I actually got here, and how much gratitude and excitement I feel to actually be there. And at first it felt like I was kind of far away from my desire. But the more that I practiced this throughout the day, the more natural it actually felt when I was imagining it going to sleep. And I would fall asleep in the energy of my desire. And it was weird. It started to feel like Washington was getting closer to me without me actually physically getting any closer to it. And it became easier and easier for me to imagine myself living in this reality. And eventually it started to feel so normal that I almost expected it to happen. And then I started to build confidence that it would happen. And then I started to imagine who that version of me was in that reality. And almost without even thinking about it, just getting clear on that version of myself kind of helped me slowly start to become that self. And I say slowly, but the universe works in crazy ways. And I feel like everything kind of hit all at once. And again, there's so much energetically being worked out right now that we can't physically see. And so our brain freaks out because it can't predict what could happen next. But what if what you actually thought you wanted to happen next, what if that is just one of the tiny little things that actually happens next? What if it goes way beyond that desire because you weren't thinking big enough? Imaginal acts become facts. And this is something that Neville Goddard talks about as well. And I promise you, the more whatever you imagine and create in consciousness, you start to feel that on an emotional level as well. And that starts to impact the thoughts and the soundtracks of thoughts that you experience throughout the day. And if you start playing this what if game with yourself and really thinking beyond what you ever thought was possible, and you start falling asleep in the energy of your desire, in consciousness, you are going to start to feel different. You are going to notice your thoughts start to change. You are going to notice your feelings shifting in your body. And maybe when anxiety comes up, or a situation that causes a disturbance inside to come up, it more easily flows through you because you've created the energetic space to and remove the resistance to be able to feel everything. Your brain is designed to keep you safe. So it sends you lots of conspiracies to help you prepare for what could potentially happen next. Your subconscious will believe anything you tell it, even if it's not true. Your subconscious mind is subjective and doesn't think independently. It simply obeys the commands given to it by the conscious mind. Even if you make yourself believe you need something or someone to be happy, or that you are a failure until something specific happens, you will convince your subconscious mind that it's true, and it will focus on looking for that evidence of lack, failure, and unhappiness. But what if we interrupt the thoughts that induce worry and fear and choose a new thought that feels equally true to the brain that creates a different feeling in the body? What if it all works out? What if I don't need to have all the answers right now? What if what happens next is beyond what I could have ever imagined? What if I trusted the process? What if I'm not behind? What if I'm actually ahead? What if this was much easier than I realized? What if I looked at this through the eyes of my past self? What if these worries and fears never actually happen? What if that opportunity I'm wanting leads to a ton of other opportunities that actually push me way farther than what I originally planned? You'll notice that a shift in thought creates an instant shift in emotion. Learning to feel the way we desire to feel and tracking what thoughts create those feelings is how you're going to rewire your brain and literally create a new you. The way to manifest is through our emotional body and what we envision in consciousness. What we create inside reflects in our physical circumstances and our results. But if we are allowing what happens outside of us to create a change inside, then that's where we are stuck in a loop. And that keeps us separate from the way we want to think, feel, behave, and live our lives. So the emotion has to come from inside first in order to be reflected outside, not the other way around. Comparison only destroys creativity and inspiration. Same with wishing to be there instead of here. So instead, create that feeling inside of success in the now. Measure yourself against your previous self, not your ideal, because you've never been to your ideal before. The entire process is going to be a new experience. But if you're measuring your success after who you have already been, you will be able to actually see the truth and how far you have come and be able to create a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment from inside. This will create evidence for your brain that you can handle what happens next and allow you to focus on what you are creating in the present moment, in the energy of gratitude and fulfillment. If our subconscious mind believes anything we tell it, think about the best possible beliefs you would want to have. How do you want to think, feel, and behave? What thoughts would the best version of you have? Learning to choose and repeat the thoughts that you want to turn into beliefs and combining them with high-frequency emotions like gratitude, happiness, and peace is the way to all you have ever dreamed of, and beyond, if you can imagine it. You may have heard your mind is an excellent servant, but a terrible master, and that's because your mind literally cannot see past, present, and future the way that we do. Your mind is presenting you with all of the information based off who you have been up until this point. The thoughts and the beliefs that you have nothing to do with who you can be, who you are, what you are capable of. It is just a record of your past experiences. And so we should really not be listening to this mind and let it control how we think, how we feel, how we act. Because if it's based off the past, if our mind is literally a record of the past, then letting it dominate and control how we think, feel, and act is going to keep us repeating the past. So in order to create our new reality, we need to create new thoughts. We need to create a new set of thoughts, ones that create a powerful feeling in the body. And you will notice that if you find the right thoughts that feel good and true to your brain, you will feel an instant shift in emotion. This is why gratitude does that for us, right? Because you are looking at evidence of things that you have already received and are experiencing, and the brain knows that that's true, and that's why you can feel that really beautiful feeling in the body when you really dig deep into gratitude. And the better you get at feeling all of your emotions that come up, even when you feel anxiety, even when you feel sad or grief, the more fully you're going to be able to feel abundance, happiness, excitement, and really, really, really bask in all of that. And that's where creativity and manifestation is birthed from, is from that emotional place. And it's important to realize you don't have to be anybody that you do not want to be. It has nothing to do with where you have been. You can create a whole new identity, a whole new story for yourself. But it just starts with what you actually want, who you want to be, getting clear on your desires and who you want to be in those desires. It's going to be very hard to move towards what you want and to follow those ideas that actually lead you closer to what you want if you don't have clarity on what you want or who you are in that reality. And again, life gets to be really, really fun because you get to ask yourself, who do I actually want to be? If I got to totally rewrite my identity and how I think, feel, and act, like literally if I got to create a whole new person, what would that look like? And guess what? That clarity, that awareness that you've now created around that version of yourself, now your brain is going to look for that evidence that reality can be true, that you are that person. Again, you can tell your subconscious mind to look for whatever evidence you want it to look for, but it starts with the information that you're putting in and really getting clear on your desires and who you want to be and what that reality looks like and how you can start to merge with that version of yourself. And I promise you, playing the what if game can immediately neutralize anxiety and help us realize that things aren't as bad as we think right now, and we're actually way more safe than we believe. And perhaps we're way more successful than we believe too. I almost guarantee you that you are way beyond where you actually think that you are. Again, there is nothing outside of you that you have to go find in order to create the life that you want. It all is an inner game. It all starts with your internal environment. And I promise you, playing the devil's advocate with your brain and even just asking, who says? Says who? Who says that is how things are going to go? You'll notice that your brain does not have an answer. It's not basing the things that it's telling you off facts. So this is where you can take conscious control and really start to give your brain more evidence and show your brain the opposite side of the coin with how things can actually be.